Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is the first time that you've seen my face, my name is Aleesha and today we have a very special video for you guys. I am sat with a recruiter from one of the biggest think tanks in the UK and we are going to be spilling all the tea on the application processes to get an amazing job or an internship in politics. She will be answering questions along the lines of CVs, like how to create a perfect cover letter, and also major red flags that she's noticed in the application.
So hi guys, I am Brittany Davis. I am head of outreach here at the IEA, which basically just means that I am in charge of all of our educational outreach and content. So sixth formers all the way up through emeritus academics and everything in between.
Brilliant, thank you so much for coming on
the
channel.
This is my first experience.
Oh yeah, I should say as well guys, we actually filmed this whole thing before and then I realised I cropped myself out of the camera.
You cropped our faces out, it was just
It was so
like,
bad, it was just words.
So, you know.
So it's take two, so hopefully this one actually works this time. As always, if you want to see more content like this, careers related, subscribe below and hit the bell. Okay, and I'm going to stop walking around. Subscribe! First section of this video is going to be around think tanks and just more about what think tanks actually are, because they're an amazing opportunity to get involved with, especially if you're looking into getting a job in politics. But before we do that, could you just share a little bit more about your journey and what you do now?
So I'm American, in case the accent didn't give it away immediately. So I went to uni back in the US, studied French, Spanish and political science, and then after I graduated I did a program that paired me up with an internship opportunity but also sponsored my visa so that I could legally be in the UK. So I interned with Epicenter, which is the IEA's sister think tank, and it's a network of European think tanks. So I was here for 5 months and ended up doing the IEA internship at the same time. And then afterwards, I always say they couldn't get rid of me. I came back as a member of staff about 6 months later. Initially as a member of staff, I came back in the operations department, so basically running the building, managing events, managing a team of about 10 interns every quarter, and then I was promoted up into the outreach department, which is where I currently am. Within 2 months of joining the department, I was my then manager's maternity cover, which is a lot of responsibility, but it's also a really great experience that most people at that age don't get to have. And then was promoted to head of department at the beginning of this year. So it's been a crazy 3 years, to be honest, from intern to head of department. But I think that's kind of the beauty of think tanks, is that you know, there is less of a structure, less of a hierarchy. So if you do really well, then you can get promoted up really quickly.
And it actually shows the value of internships as well.
It does. Yeah. I'd say at least half of the IEA staff has been an intern at one point or another. Yeah. And we do tend to recruit out of our intern pool just because it means that we get to know you, you get to know us, and we know if you'd be a good fit for a certain position once we do start hiring. What
actually is a think tank for people watching this who might not know what a think tank is?
How would you say, sum it up? A lot of times when people ask what I do, I say I work for an economic think tank, and you just see the glaze go over their eyes and no one knows what it means. So different think tanks focus on different things. In a sentence, I would say the IEA does the background research so that different MPs, industries, just general population don't have to, but we actually do a lot more than that. We have a really active communications department who are on the media and making videos. We have my department, which is outreach, so student and academic outreach, different conference and events that run around that. We also have an operations department to make sure that the building and us run smoothly, and that we all have what we need. A fundraising team, and then a team around our director general. So it's actually a lot more than research, which a lot of people don't realize.
Earlier, how you were talking about how you were an intern first. So obviously we've heard about the value of internships. What internships does the IEA actually offer? Because obviously one thing that I noticed is that the IEA actually has a lot of internships to offer compared to most think tanks in the UK. So do you want to talk about the different programs and internships that are available?
So specifically within my department, we do different programs. So we do a sixth form program in April and in July. Specifically for sixth formers, it's a week-long program. We do undergraduate programs, which Aleesha has actually done, which is a 3-week program here in Westminster. We do a residential summer school called Camp Vinson, which is at the University of Buckingham. And we also do a few programs for master's, PhD students and undergraduates as well. The IEA itself has several different internship opportunities. So there's the IEA internship, which is the one that I used to run when I first joined the IEA, and the one that I also did when I was an intern. it's a lot of event planning and management, which is really good experience to have.
Exactly.
But it's also helping the different departments with any needs that they have, whether that's, you'll have someone from the comms team come down and say, I'm doing this media appearance in a few hours and I need a few stats on this. Or the research team saying, I need some people who have written on this, can you find them for me?
Yeah.
There's also the editorial internship, which helps to run 1828, which is our more youth-facing blog. There is the IEA Global Internship, which the Epicenter Internship sits in, and also the Initiative for African Trade and Prosperity Internship. So there's lots of different ways to get involved, and then a lot of different internships of varying lengths. There's kind of something for everyone, really. Yeah, so it's a really great chance to get real-world experience and also make connections for yourself if you're interested in a career in the general Westminster bubble.
Yeah, I that's definitely true. I networked with a lot of the speakers that came in.
Yeah, you did.
And also, when we had the event as well, I networked with people there too.
Yeah.
And it's really nice, because you actually build like lasting friendships over that.
Yeah, that's a huge goal of mine, is to build an alumni network so that people, one, want to come back, give them a reason to come back, and also, there are people who have gotten jobs out of our alumni events, and I think of us as a little family. We are small but mighty, and you'd be surprised at how much a fellow IA alum would be willing to do for you.
Exactly.
So kind of trying to build that family tie deal.
Yeah.
I mean, Aleesha's come back 2 months later.
Yeah, so it can't be that bad. Okay, so we'll move on to the next section, which is more about the pre-interview process of the application. What are the top things that you actually look for on an applicant's CV?
I think showing that you have volunteered, that you have had a job, even if you don't think it's related, I think it's really important. And it says a lot about you as a person that, you can go out and apply for a job, you can manage your schedule and your workload well enough to have a job. And that you're reliable, you turn up, you haven't hopefully been fired. I think it says a lot, and I think a lot of people really underestimate the value of a customer-facing job. So whether that's working at a restaurant, whether that's working in customer service or in retail, I think you'll find that most people get their start with a customer-facing job. I certainly have had customer-facing jobs and internships, and it's really invaluable experience, to be honest, and it's something that I really rate highly.
A lot of the young people that I meet as well, they're more concerned about how to stand out when they don't have any experience yet, like as sixth formers, or also how to stand out if they don't have relevant work experience to the position that they're applying for. But like you said, it's actually all those other things, like those leadership activities, those volunteering positions that help you.
And it's certainly transferable skills. When you apply to a lot of jobs, they're not expecting you to tick every single box, but there are a lot of skills where you can say, I don't have this direct experience, but I've done this job and it gave me these skills, which I could easily apply to the job that you're hiring for. So I think a lot of people might see, women particularly, tend to see a job, an advert for a job, and not think that they're qualified, whereas men will see it and think, I could swing that, and they'll apply anyways. Don't let the job advert put you off, even if you don't think you have the specific skills needed. A lot of times you have a lot of the transferable skills that that can be applied to the job.
Okay, this question, this was even something that I asked you as well when I first met you over the coffee. Do you remember back? That feels like it was ages ago.
I mean, that was in February?
Yeah.
Just to brag on Aleesha for a minute, if I may. I know this is your video, but I'm just going to take over. So Aleesha is a great networker, and she connected with me on LinkedIn, but she connected with a message, which I would say is important. Because if I get connection requests and I don't know them, then why would I accept you? But Aleesha messaged me and said, hi, I'm really interested in think tanks in the IA. Would I be able to talk to you? Just ask you some questions. So I took you to coffee, and we had a nice big chat. So pro tip from Aleesha herself, don't be afraid to reach out to people.
Definitely.
You would be surprised at how many people are willing to help. We all had to start somewhere.
I think another tip on that point as well, when I like to message people from LinkedIn, is sometimes it's a good idea, not all the time it's necessary, but sometimes it's a good idea to find people that have like some sort of common interest with you. So on LinkedIn how you can see like where they went to school or where they went to university, or maybe if they put their hobbies on there, or a football team or something like that. That's also a good way to connect with them, because you have something in common.
So for example, when I came to London and didn't have a full-time job, I went on LinkedIn and filtered for my university and then by the city of London. So I got to see anyone who'd gone to my university who now lived in London. So I started messaging them saying, hi, I went to SMU too, and I want to move to London. You know,
Yeah.
can I buy you a coffee and see how you did it? And I would say I probably messaged 20 people, and all
Yeah.
20 of them replied.
Oh,
You know,
really?
you'd be
Oh, that's
surprised
so
at how, you know, kind of like I was saying about the IA alumni network. You know, you'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't,
Yeah.
how willing people are to help. So,
You know what was one of my favourite networking tips that you gave me actually when we had coffee?
now I'm curious.
It was, you said at the end of like the conversation, it's actually a good idea to say, do you have like 3 people in your network or
Yeah.
something that you can put me in touch with?
So yeah, that's one of
Yeah.
my favorite networking tips is, you know, at
So,
the
like,
end of a discussion, say, who are 2 people I could be introduced to, 2 people you think I should know. And I'm not saying do all of these are just different questions I meant to ask, to be clear, don't ask all of them. You know, what are 2 things you think I should be doing? What's 1 news source you think I should be reading? But yeah, I think especially in Westminster, it's a pretty small bubble.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of tend to see the same like 1,000 people over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And a lot of us know each other, so if we see that you've worked at one place, or you know, you mention that you know some person, you know, it's pretty easy for us to kind of cross-reference and not even in a bad way. You know, I met someone yesterday and mentioned it today, and someone was like, "Oh my god, I know them too."
Yeah.
So you know, we're human. We do chat. You know, we do socialize within
Yeah.
Westminster as well. So
Believe it or not.
believe it or not, I mean, current events have been a bit busy these days, but I would like to think that we have some semblance of a social life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mean that in a negative way at all, but like we do talk, and if we see that someone has, you know, an experience at a similar think tank or institution where we know someone, we might say, hey, like, how was it? So I would say one of my biggest pieces of advice that someone gave me was, you never know when someone's going to come back into your life. So be careful, especially in the professional world. So be careful about burning bridges.
Yeah, exactly.
Be careful about how you treat people, what you say, what you do, because
yeah, exactly.
life works in funny ways, and you literally never know when someone will come back into your life.
Do you actually just spend like 5 seconds looking at the CV?
We spend longer than 5 seconds, I will say that. We do not sit and read every word. I would say, again, depending on what position I'm recruiting for and how much time I have and how many applications, I definitely do a skim first to get a feel. You can usually tell pretty quickly whether someone has the relevant experience or skills, or if they'll be a right fit. Because also, if they have an idea of the program or the role and it's not actually what the program or the role or the institution is, then we're not going to be a good fit for them, because it's not what they're interested in. I think people forget that recruiting has to be mutual, and that, you know, it has to be a good fit both ways. If it's not a good fit either way, then it's not going to work and no one's going to have a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I think that's why it's important to be concise on your CV as well. Like, I've always been advised, I don't know if you'd agree, but like, especially at my age, to try and keep it to 1 page.
I'd say that's true for any age.
Yeah.
I would say, so what I do is I have about, I have a 4-page CV with everything I could possibly want on it. Based on my different experiences in education and leadership roles throughout uni, and, you know, kind of just like everything I've done. And then when I'm applying to different jobs, I tailor it based on the job application and the advert. So if a job says that they're more interested in networking and communication skills, then I might emphasize those experiences that I've had in past job experiences, whereas there might be some experiences that I've had that aren't as useful, so I'll take those out. So I would say, you know, make sure that you tailor your experience to the job that you're going for, and that'll give you a much better shot of getting an interview.
Yeah, that's a brilliant tip. This is something that I asked you when we had coffee as well.
Now I'm curious.
Yeah.
It's always interesting when you talk to people to see what they remember and what they pick up on, and what they think is useful.
Much from that. I literally took so much notes on my iPad as well, yeah.
I thought you might have been doodling, to be honest.
How do you create like a successful cover letter, especially like pertaining to getting a job at the IEA or an internship? I feel like the cover letter is always something that people are confused about, and they don't actually know what to put in a cover letter as well. So what would be like your biggest tips around that?
Okay, cover letters, biggest tips. I personally prefer a formal cover letter format. So that is, you can find, I'm not going to try to describe it because it's not going to go
I can put a picture of it.
Yeah, so Aleesha will put a picture of it.
Right
So I like a formal cover letter format. I think it looks really sharp. I think it shows attention to detail, because it's an easy thing to get right, but also an easy thing to get wrong. Stick to a page. I'd say the page rule is good for CVs and cover letters. know who you should be addressing it to. So a lot of times they will put the hiring manager's name on the job advert itself. Or if you know that it's going to a certain department, you can look up the department, who's in it. Or if that's not there, a really big tip that I would have is to call up the company that you're applying for and ask who the hiring manager is, because that's something that takes maybe 3 minutes, but then you might be the only person who has the hiring manager's name on the CV and the cover letter. And I think that makes a huge difference and really shows that you're willing to kind of do the research and go above and beyond.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant tip.
Yeah.
I think as well, you can do that when you're trying to get an internship at a think tank, because a think tank is quite small compared to
we're
like
quite
a
small,
massive
so it's not like we're a
company.
huge company with 100
so you
people.
will be able to find out who to address a letter to.
Yeah, and a lot of times it is on the job advert itself.
Yeah.
Other tips, don't put the mission statement in the cover letter. If you only have a page, that's not a lot of space to work with. And I know the IA's mission statement, I've been here for 4 years now.
Yeah.
I don't need someone to tell me what it is. Use the job advert, so make sure that you're mentioning experiences and interests that you have that are specifically relevant for the job that you're applying for. Again, because that goes back to being a good fit and expectations, because if it's not what you think you're getting into, then you're not going to have a good experience. It sounds generic, but you'd be surprised at how many people don't do this, but it's an easy thing to get right. Talk about why the company needs you. What can you bring to the table? What experience do you have? What makes you stand out? Because, you know, I like to hire someone who has different skills than I do. Who has strengths in different areas. So if you're talking about your different strengths, skills, interests, then that's going to make you stand out more on a cover letter.
I think what you're saying there is really important. I think it's a good idea to actually structure your cover letter so that you include both. So like why me and like what I bring, and then also why they want to work for the IEA.
And I would say you can tell when someone is just firing off a copy-paste cover letter versus actually tailoring it to the job advert that they're applying for. It's pretty easy to spot that, so be careful with that. I get a lot of applications to the ASI, and while we are good friends with them, I do not run any of their programs.
So on to the final section. This is about the interview process in the application. So could you just briefly explain what the interview process is like? So firstly for the internship, and then for, you know, how it varies for a job at the IEA.
To be honest, I would say they're pretty similar. You know, you submit a cover letter and a CV, and then should you be selected for an interview, we'll bring you in for a 30-minute to an hour. So I'd say the internships tend to be 30 minutes, real jobs tend to be an hour. One thing that will come up in pretty much any job interview, regardless of what sector, but I can tell you right now, the IA asks it in almost every interview, what's something of ours that you like? So whether that's a book, a YouTube video, a publication, an event that we did, you know, just something to show that you're actually...
And don't lie and say you like something and you don't,
because
or you
then,
haven't read it.
Yeah, because if we've read it, then we'll be then we'll start asking you questions, then you get found out pretty quickly. But that's also a really easy piece of research to do before you go into a job interview. You know, just go on the website, see what events they've had recently, maybe watch a YouTube video or two. And then you'll really be able to talk to the interviewer about company and
also I feel like you'll be able to see by doing that research if you're actually interested in what you're going to do.
And that, I said this for the CVs and cover letters, but you know, we want someone who's actually interested in the job and interested in the company. And I think a lot of people forget that. Well, especially I can say this for the think tank sector for sure, and I'd say it's still applicable for the private sector, but the interview is just a chance to get to know you. Like I said, you spend a lot of time with the people you work with, so you're trying to figure out more about their experiences. But you're also just trying to see if they're a good fit. You're trying to get to know them a bit better. You know, people are very different, or can be very different on the page versus in real life. So, you know, making sure that their experiences are a good fit, but then their personality and their goals and their work ethic, who they are, is a good fit as well. I think it's normal to be a bit nervous for an interview, but, you know, we're not out to get you. We're just trying to get to know you better, so don't let the interview itself freak you out too much. I think would be my biggest piece of advice there.
Is there anything that you actually look for in particular in interviews?
Someone who's personable. We do a lot of interaction with students and teachers and academics, so being able to interact with those people. It can be hard to get academics talking, so you know, people who are good in those sorts of social situations. people who are good under the pressure, because you know, we do have a lot of, you know, like the internships and the events and whatnot. There will always be something that happens and something that pops up. So being able to think on your feet
it's
and
quite
solve problems.
paced, you know.
Yeah, which is, it's kind of fun because you know, no 2 days are the same.
Exactly.
I mean, I know what I'll be doing tomorrow and whatnot, but it'll be very different to what I've done today.
Yeah, which is good.
So you know, you're rarely bored in a think tank.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way. You don't do think tanks for the money. I'll put it that way. You know, you do it because you have a genuine passion for the job that you're doing. So someone who does have an interest in outreach in our department and the work that we do, you know, it's a lot of work if you don't enjoy it. So I just want someone who's actually interested in the job itself, I would say.
Definitely. Oh, perfect. Last question, and this is always a funny one, I know. And this is, what are the biggest red flags that you've come across in interviews?
I had someone say that they were fluent in Spanish. And I said basically the equivalent of, "Hi, how are you?" in Spanish, and the look of horror. You know, we tend to find things out, if not in the interview, then pretty quickly after you've started. So I would say be careful about how much zhuzhing up you do of your CV.
Yeah. Oh, that was so cute. So wholesome. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and that it was useful. If it was, again, please like and subscribe.
20 likes and you get the idea.
Yes, exactly, and we want to see it, so please like.
I want to see it. I'll be liking.
Okay, brilliant, and thank you so much for
having
on again the second time. Bye. Hi guys! Oh, that sounded really bad. Hi! Yeah, I'm confused.